Hats off to entrepreneurs. You bring value to our community by creating jobs and building wealth. Aspire Enterprise of Florida is your premier one-stop resource for strategic business coaching, business trainings, and business services. Our elite team of business professionals have over 30 years of expertise to serve small business owners, not-for-profit organizations, and individuals. Aspire Enterprise, where your needs are our priority.
Hi, good evening, and welcome to another edition of Palm Bay Live. And today I have with me Mr. Sam Bookhardt, Oscar Hotusing, and they're both attorneys, and they're running for a circuit court judge for 18th Circuit, the 18th Circuit in Florida. So I have them on the line live right now, and I'm going to start off by asking each of them to introduce themselves. Starting with Mr. Bookhardt, you're on top. So we're going to obviously start with you, and then we will roll it down to Mr. Oscar. Please introduce yourself, give us your educational background, and why you're running for office.
Thank you for having me here tonight on this show. I truly am grateful, and I thank you very much for that. Again, my name is Samuel Bookhardt. I was born and raised in Titusville, Brevard County. I grew up with 10 brothers and sisters, and our parents recently celebrated 65 years of marriage. My wife, Sandra, and I have been married for over 32 years. We have 3 children, and I have one awesome sweet little baby granddaughter. I went to all the local schools here. When I graduated at the age of 17, 6 days later, I enlisted in the United States Army. I served 3 years. I was airborne when I served, and I served 2 years overseas. And when I came back, I went to Brevard Community College for 2 years. Then I went to UCF for another 2 years. I received my degree in economics. Thereafter, I went to Stetson Law School and got my law degree. After I got my law degree, I came back and started to work at the state attorney's office, and I worked there for approximately 4 years. After 4 years there, I went to work for a local law firm, a pretty big law firm, approximately 50 employees. And I practiced both criminal and civil law. And during that time, when I was with the big law firm in Cocoa, I represented local hospitals. I represented insurance companies. I represented financial institutions. I represented construction contractors and individuals. And 5 years ago, approximately 5 years ago, I started my own law firm, Samuel Bookhardt III, PA, located in Cocoa, and I currently practice both criminal and civil law.
Okay, awesome. Mr. Oscar?
Yes. Good evening again, Oscar Hotusing. The H is silent. It's Hotusing in Spanish. I'm originally from Miami, Florida. My parents.
Mr. Oscar, Mr. Oscar, 1 second. The volume. Try it again.
All right. So let me get closer.
Yes, sir.
Okay, there we go. Again, Oscar Hotusing. Thank you for having us. I'm originally from Miami, Florida. My parents are from Panama. They immigrated to the United States in about 1960, and then from there I went. So I was born in Miami. I moved up to Brevard County in 1994 after I got my law degree. I went to undergraduate school at Florida International University and law school in Nova University, which is down in Fort Lauderdale. Once I graduated there, I moved up since January 1994, I've lived in Brevard County and started my career at the state attorney's office. I was there for about 13 years. I did everything there. And then the last 4 or 5 years I was there, was spent in the Sex Crimes and Child Abuse Division, where I prosecuted sexual molesters, sexual batterers, and child abuse people accused of those offenses. Then between the year December 2006 and 2009, January I was a county court judge in Titusville. I was appointed to the bench, and I served two years there as a county court judge. After that, I've been on my own practice since 2010. I handle all kinds of cases except personal injury. I do family law, criminal law, probate. Within that is wills and trusts, contract laws, civil litigation. There's from guardianships to helping people figure out how they can bring somebody back to this country who has their children. So that's kind of what I'm working on today, actually. And also, I'm a former member of the United States Army Reserve. I'm a veteran of that. I joined the JAG Corps in 2005. I served there for 10 years, and I was honorably discharged as a rank of captain. And I did that for 10 years, and I'm very proud of that service.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your service to the country. So let's ask some, pertinent question here. What is the most bizarre thing that has happened to you during your campaign while running for this race? Let's start with Oscar. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I can tell you the most unusual thing that has happened is I was involved in a campaign in the past, and it's this situation that we're in under the pandemic with the COVID situation. Usually we do a lot of, and we strive to meet a lot of people, shake hands with people, go to different events and be in front of people, but that has changed. So this campaign has been extremely different, not only for me, but I presume for all candidates. So we've been doing a lot of what we're doing tonight, which is video chatting and trying to meet people in this fashion. So to me, that is the most unusual thing that has taken place.
Remind everyone, what group are you in? What group are you guys in?
Group 25.
Group 25. Okay, it's great.
Yes,
so
sir.
when you look at the ballot audience, you're looking for Group 25, and you will see the names of Sam Bookhardt and Oscar Hotusing. Okay, all right. So Mr. Sam, go ahead. Your turn.
I think I've been very blessed. Nothing really strange. I think people are very engaged and very respectful. I think a few times, actually, a few questions may come up that as a judicial candidate, we're not allowed to answer. But for the most part, I think people have been very, very respectful, and I'm very pleased with that.
Okay, awesome. So the obvious question, why do you want to be a judge? Tell us. Sam, why do you want to be a judge?
I want to be a judge because I want to use my legal experience and my desire to serve and my ability to be fair and impartial and my commitment and love for our system of justice to administer law according to the rule of law.
Okay, awesome. Oscar?
Since I was very young, there were two things I wanted to do. One was either be a judge or be a senator. And that came from my grandfather. He then instilled that in me. Being a judge, to me, is the highest form of service that you can do within the legal profession. Having the ability to have the trust of others to make the decisions that they can't make on their own, I think that to me is a great honor for me. Having had the opportunity to do it before, I realize what an amazing job it is. I've always wanted to serve people, and I continue to want to do that now. And I believe that in my profession, at least as far as my beliefs, being a judge is the greatest way that you can do that to help other people that need help.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so let's go to the next obvious question. Why do you believe you would be a good judge? Let's start with Oscar. Why do you believe you would be a good judge?
I believe, yes, sir. Being a judge is there's two different aspects to it, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Number one is obviously, does a person have experience? And I mean in the legal field and the real world. Number two, is the person have the type of temperament that they can sit up there, listen to the different parties, sometimes get frustrated, but not allow that frustration to get involved and affect them in making the decisions. So both of those, I believe that I have. In fact, I know that I have. My experience is very long. I've been doing this forever. It seems like forever now, since '94. And I've done all types of area of law. So I've pretty much handled many, many things. Every day you learn something different. So no one should say they know everything, because every day we learn something different. Mm-hmm. And the temperament I have to sit there, I I take pride in being able to listen to people. I think that one's the greatest qualities that the judge can have is to listen. And then after he's heard everything, make a decision. So I know that I'm not a person that will run to a decision very quickly. I'll listen to what both parties have to say and then make the decision from there. And sometimes you have to be prepared to make the difficult decision that not everybody's going to agree with. And I've done that in the past, and I'm prepared to do that again if I am elected to be your circuit court judge.
Okay. Sam?
You know, I think what we did prior to this interview and what I have done prior to this interview, I have been practicing over approximately 23 years in Brevard County and lived here my entire life besides the time I served in the military and went off to college, to law school in St. Petersburg. But when you think about my legal experience, where I prosecuted cases, when I left the state attorney's office, I represented people charged with from murder all the way on down to simple misdemeanor to traffic violations. And in the civil arena, I represented numerous type of corporations, hospitals, insurance companies, financial institutions, construction contractors, and individuals. And why do I say that? I say that because a judge should bring with him or her a broad base of legal experience. And I think when one looks at my qualifications, they would see it's very broad. And I have the experience to walk in there and be ready on day one. In addition to that, sir, I think what's important is what has a person done in the community and whether the person has given back not only to the community, but also to the legal field. I believe in 2010, 2011, I was the Brevard County Bar President. I had the awesome opportunity to serve for a one-year term and help lead the organization. I saw all the work that attorneys do outside the courtroom. And I still to this day, I'm very, very pleased with what they do, the time, their effort, their commitment, and the money they give to try to improve our community. I'm also a former chairperson of the law library, and I worked on other numerous boards throughout my community. And so it's important that we look at the complete person. My wife and I have been married for over 23 years. I'm sorry, 32 years. She may hit me when I say 23 years. So if you listen to this, you're going to say, what were you thinking about? But my wife and I have been married over 32 years. And we got married February 12th of 1988. So I better apologize for my mistake. Mm-hmm. But nevertheless, when you take all that and you look at what I have done and how I treated people, I treat people with the highest respect, no matter what condition they may be in. And so if I'm blessed with the opportunity, it would be a commitment, a core commitment to always give everybody a true and fair opportunity to be heard and make a good, solid, sound decision based on the law applied to the facts of the case so that our community can be very proud of that. And I just would love the opportunity. And I just thank you so much for me to be here so I can earn the trust of the voters. If I can earn their trust, and then they may support me. If they support me, then on August 18th, I would have confidence, then they would go to the polls and vote for me.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. Okay, let's talk about experience. What experience do you have as an attorney that makes you the best candidate? And let's start with Sam on this one.
And that's a great question. And it's also, I think, like making a cake, if you will. All the ingredients are important. Otherwise, you may not have a cake. Same thing with the quality that you look for a judge. And clearly, the legal experience is very, very up there. And I know I said this before, but I think it's very important because throughout the years, especially when I worked for a big law firm, a local law firm in Cocoa, and the corporations that I represented on numerous issues and trying cases, not only in Brevard County, I tried civil cases in Brevard County, I tried civil cases in Volusia County, Orange County, and a few other counties throughout, where I was representing insurance companies, representing construction companies, financial institutions, and hospitals, and it was truly an honor and a privilege to do that. And I think I would bring all of that with me as a judge, in addition to being a prosecutor, prosecuting cases and defending cases all the way up to murder. So I would understand the process, and most importantly, if elected to this privilege, I would be a trial judge. I try cases, and I would like to be a judge that try cases and give everybody a true and fair opportunity to be heard and make good, solid decisions that our community can be proud of.
Okay, great. Oscar.
Yes. Mr. Bookhardt keeps talking about experience and civil experience, and perhaps later on, you may want to ask him specifically what type of civil experience that is. It was my realization that at his time there, that law firm, when he says representing big hospitals and other companies of that nature, there actually were collection agencies. So the representation that he was doing was against people that couldn't pay their hospital bills or had fallen behind. Now, I know that's what that law firm does, and he maybe should just say that that's what I did at that law firm, because he's kind of making it seem like he's trying these big cases there. And he's saying being open and honest is something that's important. I think the members that are listening to this should know that. It was more of a representation of the big companies going after people that couldn't afford their bills. So one of the things that in my career, I spent 12, 13 years at the state attorney's office, not 4. Within that time, I prosecuted extremely serious cases. In fact, I know Mr. Bookhardt because Mr. Bookhardt came into the state attorney's office after I did, and he always followed my cases just by random. So in juvenile, he picked up my old juvenile cases. In misdemeanor, he picked up my old misdemeanor cases. We got the felony division, he picked up my old felony division. And then after 4 years, he moved on. But I stayed there for 12 or 13 years. So the amount of experience that I gained there was substantially more than Mr. Bookhardt is trying to say. I've also had the opportunity in my own practice. I have done all kinds of law. I do family law substantially. So, and I mentioned it before, I do the wills and trusts. I do probate issues. I do guardianships. I do civil matters, criminal matters. I've done defense work, as Mr. Bookhardt has. I continue to do that. I did that for about 5 years with the Regional Conflict Council, which is basically people, when there's a conflict with the Public Defender's Office, they would appoint that office. So I had an opportunity to defend many, many cases. And more importantly, also importantly, 2 other issues. Number one, as a JAG officer, I had great opportunity to review major federal rules, regulations. How do they affect rules of engagement? From one matter that I wrote a very long paper dealing with delivery of the post office to the men and women in the war zone. I worked for the commander in my last tour at Fort Knox. And then also I've had the opportunity to actually sit on the bench. In fact, Mr. Bookhardt came before me many times when I was in Titusville when he was handling some criminal matters. So I've had the experience. I know exactly what happens with the bench. I know how it works. I know all the different parties that are involved. I know all of the different, you get pushed from many, many different directions. You just don't walk into a courtroom and say, make decisions. No, you are influencing numerous people, all from the court clerks to the attorneys, to other individuals that are there representing themselves. We call them pro se individuals, to the sheriff's office. And how does that affect the transportation from the jail? How do they situate the different people when you're dealing with an injunction? So this is numerous years that I've dedicated myself to learning different things, putting myself in different positions, and having the honor and opportunity to serve and do all of these different things. Why I think that makes me the best candidate.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Mr. Sam, I'm going to give you a chance to rebuttal if you like. Would you like to?
I think that my representation speaks for itself. And I find it odd, but nevertheless, I know this is a race, but I'm going to let my reputation speak for itself on what I do. The attorneys in Brevard County and Seminole County, they know the work I do and the quality of work I do. The clients that I represented and witnesses that were a part of the cases that I tried, and they understand the quality of not only a person, but attorney I am. So I'm proud of that. and I'm okay and big enough and strong enough where I'm good and fine, and I'm going to continue to stay focused on what we're trying to do and let the voters know who I am, and I'm proud of who I am. I would stand by who I am every single day, and I just appreciate the opportunity, sir, to be here today to present who I am, no matter what comes across from anyone, because I know who I am and I'm confident of who I am. And I am just very blessed to be who I am. And so thank you. I'm good.
I think this question was kind of asked, but answered in a way from Mr. Oscar. But let's talk about it. Have you tried jury trials, and how many?
I have tried numerous jury trials up in the 50s, 60s, or 80s, criminal cases. I tried criminal cases, not only in Brevard County, I tried similar cases, criminal cases also in other counties. I tried civil cases, several jury trial cases in Brevard County, Volusia County, Orange County, and other counties too.
Okay. All right. Mr. Oscar, do you want to opine on that any more, or you good?
You broke up, so I don't exactly know which question it is you're asking me, sir.
Okay, yes. I asked, have you tried jury trials, and how many, to Mr. Sam? And I was asking if you want to opine on it, because I think you gave a brief overview when in your previous answer.
Okay, all right, yes. Oh, obviously, we at the state attorney's office tried countless cases, from juvenile cases all the way up, and those were non-jury trials, up to misdemeanor cases, and then the serious felony cases. As to an exact number, I know that's was one of the questions when you sent it to us. I stopped counting, so I don't like to say it's a certain number, because I don't exactly know how many cases I tried, but they were 100 or more at least. I also tried cases as a judge. I had people come before me, so I was actually the judge that had to hear those, make the rulings, make the decisions. And those were in the 2 years that we did that. Those were numerous cases as well. The non-jury trials, I couldn't even begin to imagine how many I've done throughout my career. I've had the opportunity to handle cases in Volusia County, Orange County, Seminole County, Indian River County. And in fact, I had a pretty big trial down in Miami-Dade County earlier this year with a juvenile who was accused of certain offenses, but we worked hard and got a fair resolution in his case. So I've had the opportunity to travel as well. You do learn a lot by traveling. And so I think that kind of answers that question.
Okay, so Mr. Sam, he answered the non-jury question. What about you? How many non-jury trials have you tried?
I tried anywhere between 50 or more up to 75 non-jury trials. And also I tried non-jury trials in the criminal arena and also the civil arena.
Okay, all right, good. Any of you guys board certified?
I'm not board certified.
Oscar?
No, sir, I'm not either.
You're not board certified. Okay, all right. What is the most significant case that you've worked on as a lawyer?
I had an awesome opportunity to work on the death penalty case as co-counsel with a local attorney that's very, very knowledgeable. I learned a lot. It was a double homicide, premeditated murder case where we represented an individual, and we were successful in getting the state attorney's office to waive the death penalty.
Okay. Oscar?
The most significant case that I worked on, I would say, was actually the most significant case that I worked on was actually as a sitting judge. It was during the year of 2008. I was a fresh judge. I remember we were in Judges College, and I found out I was going to handle this case, and it was the state of Florida versus Bob Allen. He was a representative at the time, Titusville area, and he was accused of certain offenses. It received statewide recognition throughout the entire course of the trial. There were cameras in there. Remember, this is 2008, so it was getting started with all the cameras and the social media. So they were inside my courtroom at all the time. The actual trial lasted about a week. Went up on appeal. And thankfully, all my rulings were upheld by the Fifth District Court of Appeal. And so I learned a lot of how to deal with the cameras. I learned a lot of how to deal with the pressure of having the cameras there and making decisions that everybody was paying attention to. And it received, I think it was in 2008, the Florida Today called it one of the most important events of the year 2008. So by far, that was the most significant legal matter I've ever been involved in.
Okay. All right, great. What kind of things do you guys do outside of the legal profession? Start with Oscar. What kind of things do you do outside the legal profession?
I'll go first then, I guess.
Yeah, Oscar, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. Outside, when I was in the Army Reserves, that took up my time outside. But since then, the majority of things I do are I have well, he's a 17-year-old son now, so I spend time with him. And I've done so for, obviously since he was small. I enjoy going to the gym. I work out at the gym, and I enjoy working on my car. And I have my dog. I spend time with my dog. I do a lot with him. And got a new house here just a little while ago. It's not a new one. It's a kind of an old home that we're working on. So I enjoy working on the house. So those are, if I'm not involved in legal, I'm doing one of those things.
Okay. Sam?
I have 10 brothers and sisters, 7 sisters and 3 brothers. And we started this probably 3 years ago. Every Sunday at 7 o'clock, we have a conference call. And we just talk and laugh and see how each other's families are doing, because throughout the week, everyone's so busy, we don't have the opportunity to see each other. And in addition to that, we have big cookouts at my parents' house prior to the current events. We have not done that recently, but prior to the current events, we'd have cookouts at my parents' house on a monthly basis. I ride a motorcycle. I love jet skiing. And I work out at the gym. I was working my black belt. I stopped a few years ago and may start back up every now and then. Okay.
We have a question from the audience, so we're going to try to take this and let me know if you guys can answer it or not. Audience, be mindful of your questions, because not everything they can answer, okay? So here we go. This is a question: does the media coverage impact well-known trials? Can that be answered? Does the media coverage impact well-known trials?
Can you ask it again, please?
Does the media coverage impact well-known trials?
Does the media influence or impact what happens in the courtroom? If that's the
question,
I
think that's what she's asking.
I think that's what I heard. That's what I'm an answer. I'm going to go with no. Should they? Because there's many eyes, and whether it's the media or family members or witnesses or just people that are interested in going to the courthouse, there's always people in the courtroom, and your focus when you're on the bench is strictly towards the evidence that's being presented and the rulings that you have to make based on what you've heard from the attorneys, the witnesses, and the clients if they speak.
Okay.
And I agree that the media would not affect or have influence on the court itself. However, I do think that the media may have some influence on witnesses that may testify and may have a little impact on how our attorney may present his or her case in a different fashion. But do I think it would have impact on the court itself? No.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Hopefully that question was answered for you, Ms. Karen. All right. What do you believe a judge's job entail? Your philosophy and what you think a judge your job should entail if you get elected.
I believe.
Or Sam, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Sam.
A judge should have the ability to listen and listen well. And sometimes a judge would need to actively listen so he or she can actually understand the party's position. And then make sure you give each party a true and fair opportunity to be heard, because one cannot make a full decision if one does not know all the facts. And so I think it's very, very important to be able to listen and analyze the facts. And yes, a judge is going to have to make a judgment call on which witnesses to believe and what corroborate with each other. And the judge is going to have to apply the law and apply the law appropriately to the facts of the case. And so I think my philosophy would be very simple: to give everybody a true and fair opportunity to be heard and make good, solid, just decisions based on the law.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Oscar. Go ahead. Did he freeze? Can you hear me?
I'll take the opportunity to answer the same question then.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, I hear you fine. Okay. The judicial position, it's important that the listeners understand there's more to it than simply being there in the courtroom and making a decision at trials. That's what's been described. Trials is the smallest portion of what we actually do in the legal profession. If we did more trials, we would never get out of the courthouse. So the judge's job entails a lot. The judge's job entails scheduling. The judge's job entails assuring that you give plenty of time for the attorneys to come before on their different motions. The judge's job entails making sure that all of the parties that are involved in the courthouse to make it work are working together and working in a good way. When a judge is efficient in his time, which is one of my biggest philosophies as a judge, is you must be efficient in your time, and that assures fairness for everybody. In those situations where the case actually goes to trial, then the judge must sit, listen, and rule when necessary. It's not always a judge that has to rule. Sometimes the best situations a judge does is when they're not involved and let the attorneys do their jobs. I think that the best way of describing what a judge does is in baseball or any sporting event. If the game's over and you don't know who any of the referees are or any of the officials are, then it was a good game. You let the parties involved do what they needed to do. So a judge should not put himself in positions or herself in positions to make decisions just to hear themselves speak. Sitting back quietly until you are told to speak is another extremely important part of the job. And that's another part that I think I'm highly qualified to do.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys. Last question for you tonight, and then I'm going to ask you to give me your speech on why you think you should be elected. Besides COVID, what do you think is the biggest problem facing the court system today? Anyone want to take this first?
I think that the court system is now trying to incorporate.
So I believe the question is, besides.
There's a delay, Mr.
We're breaking up, so tell me who goes first.
Okay, yeah, there's a delay in your mic. Okay, go ahead. It doesn't matter. Mr. Sam started out. Go ahead, Mr. Sam.
I have noticed that the court system now, at least some judges are doing this, they are incorporating certain technologies. For instance, Microsoft's Teams, in lieu of actually appearing in court, which I think is something great, specifically in this environment. And I think we should incorporate all the new technologies we can. However, we must be careful that we don't sacrifice any certain constitutional rights, and that's a concern of mine. And in addition to that, I do think the costs litigation can limit access to justice. So we have to be mindful of cost of litigation, which is not necessarily the court's concern, but that's something that is within the system itself that can limit access to justice.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Oscar.
Yes, sir. But besides COVID, I believe the biggest has been, ever since I've been working the system, is that the cases take too long to resolve. Anyone who's been in the system, for the most part, if you ask them, they'll say, yeah, I filed for divorce, 1.5 years later, we're still dealing with that case. So I believe the biggest challenge to the system is the fact that cases take too long to resolve. It's important that the judges realize this, and as I mentioned before, be very efficient in the management of their time. A delay in the system is a delay in justice in any type of case and for any party. And that's why I believe that one of the most important things that the courts need to do is work to resolving all cases. And I'm talking criminal cases, family law cases, and civil cases that drag on for years. That's not fair to any of the parties involved. And I believe that's the biggest challenge that the court system faces, is the fact that the cases are taking much too long to resolve.
Okay, great, awesome. I'm going to try to attempt to. There was a question from a viewer. Let's see if I can take it. I'm going to put it here on the screen. I was hoping that she could kind of narrow it down for me, but I think she's saying. It says in here, I think in person is very important to resolve a case. Do you feel that way? I think she's talking about having trials where everybody's in a courtroom post-COVID, with the COVID-19 situation right now. I think that's what she's asking. She's followed up. Hold on, let me put this one on the screen. Is technology more important than in person for cases? Can you, as far as trials, go ahead.
I think it depends on the case. If it's something that's simple that the court can resolve through Microsoft Teams or Zoom, and the parties do not have to appear, I think that may be appropriate. On something complicated where you may need witnesses' testimony, then you may want the individuals in person, or you're taking a plea, you may want the individuals there in person. Specifically, when you take testimony, I don't think, and I never tried this, I don't think the camera would allow one to really feel the texture of the person, how the person testified, to make a judgment call on whether or not to believe or disbelieve a person. So I think that's very, very important. And I think that the camera would take that away. And so it all depends on the type of issue that the court is deciding.
Okay. There's a question from Mr. Hosen. Please tell me if you can or cannot answer this question. Are you there? Did you freeze? Oscar? I think his camera is freezing up. Let's see.
What's going on?
Are you there now?
I think my wireless is starting to get tired.
Okay, yeah. I can
hear you.
Can you see the question on the screen? Can you see the question on the screen?
Let me see.
It's asking Mr. Hosen, can you explain your 2013 and 2016 reprimands? What did you learn? If you can answer it, go ahead. Sure. If you can't, let me know.
Yeah, sure, I can answer that.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, what is to be very, very cautious during your campaigns? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
What I learned is to be very cautious during campaigns and what you say. Somebody will complain, and then the Florida bar will review it. So it's better to be cautious than to try to go ahead and say things you think are right. So I learned to be very cautious what I say during the campaigns, and to try to stay well within the rules, so that it doesn't offend anybody, including especially the Florida bar.
Okay, awesome. I don't see any more questions for the night, so I'm gonna take myself off the screen. I'm gonna ask Mr. Sam to go first. Go ahead and tell us, why the voters should elect you to be the judge. And as audience, if you do not know by now, for those who are joining us late, Sam and Oscar are running in Group 25. Am I correct? For 18th Circuit. And so they are running against each other. So one of them is going to be the presumptive winner when we vote on August 18. So you will only have one person to pick, and I know we probably end up loving both of them tonight based on their answers. But you only have to make one selection. So what we would like them to do is now is give it the delivery as to why they think they should be the one that we select come August 18 to be our next judge in Group 25. So I'm going to start with Mr. Sam, and I'm going to allow you to go ahead and give your speech.
Thank you, sir. And I thank you for the opportunity to present myself, and so I can work and earn the trust of the voters and gain their support and their vote on August 18th. I think everything I've done up to this point has prepared me to be a circuit judge. And I ask you not only to listen to what I said and what I presented tonight, but also do your research. And as you do your research and you talk to people out there, attorneys, people in the court system, neighbors, friends that may know me or may know of me, and I would encourage you to do that. And I think you would find someone who is consistent in treating people with respect, someone consistent in giving back to the community, someone that's consistent in properly and zealously represent his client in all his cases, someone consistent with a broad knowledge and trying to do the best he can, someone consistent in not trying to take advantage of anyone, someone consistent just trying to do what's right. And why do I think I am qualified and would be the best judge? Because when you take the things I have done, my legal experience, my ability to be fair and impartial, and my commitment to our system, my commitment to our system of justice, which I truly love from the bottom of my heart. I would love this opportunity to be a circuit court judge, and I would bring all of that to the bench with me if blessed with the opportunity. And if it's blessed with the opportunity, I will work hard every day to do what's right every single day. And I would ask you for your vote on August 18th. And I thank you so much for considering my candidacy, Sam Bookhardt for Circuit Judge, Group 25. Thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. Oscar. Ms. Oscar, you can begin. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? I think his audio went out, folks. Hold on one second. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I want to thank you all for taking the time to listen to us here. Okay, I'm going. I want to thank everybody for taking the time to listen and say our different positions. Before I forget, if you have any questions or you want to check into anything or communicate with me, I'd be happy to speak to you as long as the rules allow me to if you have particular questions. And then you go to oscarforjudge.com, and then you could communicate with me there, and I'd be happy to talk to any of you who may have had questions. When it comes to being a judge, it's very important that you all vote. That's the number one thing. Many people choose not to vote, and you forget, thinks it's in November. It's not. It's August 18th. So Mr. Bookhardt and myself are both working very hard. We're trying to get your vote, so we obviously both ask you to go out there and vote. I have the experience. I've talked about my experience. I've done the job before. I've served this country pretty much since 1994 up till just recently. And I feel I continue to serve the country in the current work that I do now. I've had a great opportunity to speak with many, many people in the past. I've had the opportunity to rule, work as a prosecutor, as a defense attorney. I've seen all the different positions one can go before the court. It's important to realize that attorneys, sometimes you may not be happy with what we're doing, but we're all doing our job, all doing exactly what we need to do. We all strive for justice. We all want the system to work. Everyone that's running for judge is going to tell you the same thing. So at the end of the day, we all want what's best for everybody. We all want to do justice. We all work hard. We all have good reputations within the community. We all have good reputations within the courthouse. So at the end of the day, the decision has to come down to who you believe, you, the voter, believes has more experience to do the particular job. And as far as the experience goes, my experience is substantially greater than my opponent's. Based on that, I ask you, do your research. If you have any questions, contact me. Go to oscarforjudge.com and I ask you for your vote on August 18th. Thank you very much.
And I thank you, gentlemen, for joining me tonight and being a part of this forum. So the Palm Bay, citizens of Palm Bay and beyond can hear you and hear why you should be selected as the next judge for Group 25. Don't forget, audience, that next week we will be having more interviews with interview with an attorney, Michael Bross, who's also running to be an 18th Circuit Court judge. He'll be on the live next week as well, and I will have an interview tomorrow with Miss Isabel Wright. She's running for City Council seat 2, so next week is another full lineup of interviews, and tomorrow we'll have the last one for this week. So we are proceeding as planned with these interviews, so you guys can get to meet the candidates during this COVID-19 situation. Don't forget, we have C2 debates coming up on the 23rd, and that's going to be at 8 p.m. Right here in Palm Bay Live. So C2 debates the 23rd right here in Palm Bay Live. And again, thank you, gentlemen, for joining me tonight. And I know you have a busy schedule, and I really appreciate you guys doing this. And you guys have yourself a good night, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you. You too.
And polls. Thank you.
Thank you.